Get ready for a quick quest guide for the In Aid of the Myreque quest, in which the main rewards for completing are access to Burgh de Rott, access to the temple trekking minigame, the ability to wield a Gadderhammer, and the ability to make the Rod of Ivandis. You'll also gain 2000 attack, strength, defense, and crafting XP, as well as 2 quest points. You'll need to have completed the In Search of the Myreque quest before taking on this one, and while not required, having completed the Shades of Mort'ton quest will make this one a little easier. Then in terms of skills, you'll need 25 agility, 25 crafting, 15 mining, and 7 magic. 45 combat is also recommended in order to defeat Gadderanks, who's level 35, and additionally multiple vampires between level 50 and 75. Now there's a massive amount of items that you'll need for this quest, and we'll first go through all of them before going through our starting setup. For this quest you'll need a spade, 5 buckets, any pickaxe you can use, a hammer, 10 bronze axes, 4 tinderboxes, a rope, and a swamp paste, which is not to be confused with swamp tar, as well as 11 regular or normal planks and 44 of any standard metal nail, for example bronze or steel nails. On top of this you'll need 1 soft clay, 1 coal, 1 silver bar, 2 steel bars, 1 mithril bar, and a sapphire. You'll also need 1 cosmic rune, 1 water rune, 10 raw mackerel, 10 snail meats, which can be any type, cooked or raw, 15 cooked salmon, as well as around 25 pieces of any decent food. And note that some of these 25 pieces of decent food are required, while some are recommended. On top of this, you'll want a steel med helm, steel chain body, steel plate legs, and a silver sickle. Then you'll also need a silver weapon that you can use to damage tier 2 vampires, such as a blessed or normal silver sickle or the wolfbane dagger. However, if you have and wear an Effortlessly aid ring, then you can instead use any weapon you like while wearing it. But just note that your weapon will only deal 50% damage. As the ring lasts for 200 hits, I'd recommend having 2 of these just in case. Looking at recommended items, even if you're using silver weapons, I'd still recommend having an Effortlessly aid, as it'll give you a 10% damage and 15% accuracy bonus against the vampires fought during the quest. You'll then want a mix of weight reducing and defensive armor, prioritizing defensive armor if you're a lower level. Additionally, to help with the combat, I'd suggest having 1 combat or super combat potion and 1 prayer potion. Then to help with the running around, you'll want to have 2 stamina potions. Now let's talk teleports, and here you'll want a charged amulet of glory, 3 Mort'ton teleport scrolls, or alternatively 3 Barrows teleports, as well as 6 South Graveyard teleports. Admittedly, you might not use all of the South Graveyard teleports, but having 6 will mean that you definitely don't run out. While this is everything that you'll need, let's now go through our starting setup. Here you'll want your 44 nails, 6 of your regular planks, 5 buckets, any pickaxe you can use, 1 spade, 1 hammer, and around 5 to 6 pieces of food. In terms of worn equipment, you'll also want to be wearing your weapon of choice, your mix of weight reducing and defensive armor, as well as your Effortlessly aid. To help with the running around, also bring along 1 stamina potion. I would also recommend that you're wearing your charged amulet of glory, and that you have either your Mort'ton teleport scrolls or Barrows teleports, and additionally your South Graveyard teleports on you. Finally, know that you'll also want at least 1 empty inventory space at the quest start. Now you can begin this quest in the Myreque hideout, and we'll quickly cover getting there. From the center of Canifus, run south behind the pub, or if you just use the South Graveyard teleport, then run east into Canifus and just behind the pub. After arriving, select to open the trapdoor here to climb down it, and then go a tad south before searching the wall to go through, and then go a little southeast and go through the cave entrance that's around the middle of the tunnel to arrive at the Myreque hideout. Inside the hideout you'll find Valley of Hurts. To start the quest, talk to Veliath and after some chatter, select yes to officially begin the In Aid of the Myreque quest, before continuing through the rest of the chat where he asks you to scope out Burgh de Rott as a potential new hideout location. Following this, it's time to travel to Burgh de Rott. For this, you can use one of your Mort'ton teleport scrolls to teleport to Mort'ton, or alternatively you can use the Shades of Mort'ton minigame teleport if you finish the Shades of Mort'ton quest. After arriving in Mort'ton, run south and head across the bridge leading to Burgh de Rott. Another option is to use a Barrows teleport before running southwest and crossing over the bridge to Mort'ton, and then continuing southwest and crossing over another bridge south to Burgh de Rott. Finally, without teleports, you can exit the Myreque hideout south and then run southeast before exiting the wooden doors to the north. From here, you can run a little south and then cross the tree bridge, before then continuing south to the transport symbol on the minimap, whereby you'll find a swampy boat. Note that it's okay if ghast attack you and destroy some food, but you'll need at least one intact food to progress into Burgh de Rott. Select to take the swampy boat to travel to Mort'ton, and then travel southwest and further south across the bridge to reach Burgh de Rott. After arriving, talk to Florin through the gate, and when chat options appear, click off from the chat. Now nearby, you'll see an open chest. Use one of your pieces of food on the chest, sparking a short cutscene whereby you win over Florin. Now open the gate south to enter into Burgh de Rott, and just a tad southeast you'll find Razvan. Talk to Razvan and firstly ask, are there any out of the way places here? And continue through the chat. When more chat options appear, simply click off from the dialogue and then enter the dilapidated pub south. Select to climb over the wall in the northwestern corner of the pub, and afterwards use your pickaxe on the rubble covering the trapdoor to clear it. Afterwards open and climb down the trapdoor, whereby you'll find 15 more piles of rubble inside. You'll need to select to mine all of the rubble, and after each piece is mined, you'll then want to select to remove it to then start placing the rubble in your bucket. As you mine the rubble and remove it with your spade, you'll also gain some random items, but most of what you get can just be dropped with two exceptions, being a plaster fragment and a dusty scroll. Upon finding these two items, you'll want to keep them. Now continue mining all of the rubble, and don't leave the area until you're finished. Upon clearing the 15th and final pile of rubble on the ground, you'll then get a small cutscene whereby you notice a dusty wall plaque. When the cutscene ends, climb up the ladder to the northwest of the cellar, and then climb over the broken wall south, before heading to just outside the pub's southwestern corner, whereby you'll find a large rubble pile. One at a time, use all 5 of your buckets of rubble on the large rubble pile to empty them, and afterwards read your plaster fragment and go through the dialogue, and then read your dusty scroll from earlier before closing the pop-up. Note that if you dropped them previously, then you can search the rubble pile to get them again. Next, head a little north back to Razvan and talk to him before saying, I'd like to help fix up the town. And when more chat options appear, just click off from the chat. Following this, run east and a tiny bit north and go into the general store, whereby you'll find Oral. Talk to Oral and then say, I'd like to help fix up the town, and then continue through the dialogue until more chat options appear before clicking off from the chat. Now go just outside of the general store and climb up the ladder along the wall to hop onto the roof. Then use one of your regular planks on the broken roof to fix it, before climbing back down the ladder. Next, go a tad east whereby you'll see a damaged wall. Use your plank on the damaged wall to repair it. Afterwards, head back into the store and talk to Oral once again and ask, what should I do now? And continue the chat slowly, as Oral will ask you to gather some things to stock the shop. Oral will always ask for 3 tinderboxes and 10 bronze axes, but he'll also ask for either 10 mackerel or 10 snails, and which he asks for is random for everyone, so make sure that you note which he asks for and then continue the chat to be handed a crate. And when more chat options appear, just click off from the chat. Following this, use your Amulet of Glory to teleport to Edgeville, and you can now destroy your plaster fragment and dusty scroll. Then head east into the bank where you'll want to deposit your buckets and your pickaxe, and then withdraw 10 bronze axes and 3 tinderboxes. Then exit the banking interface and use one of your bronze axes on your crate before selecting, yes, I'll fill the crate. Afterwards, use one of your tinderboxes on the crate before again selecting, yes, I'll fill the crate, to add them to it. Then bank once again and withdraw either 10 raw mackerel or 10 snails, whichever you were asked to provide to the store. Note that if you've forgotten, then you can check your quest log for a reminder. Use either one of your snails or mackerel on the crate now and select, yes, I'll fill the crate, to add them to it. And your crate should now be full. Now bank once again and withdraw 5 normal or regular planks and 1 swamp paste. Once you're all ready, it's time to head back to Burgh de Rott, ideally by either using your Mort'ton teleport scroll or your Shades of Mort'ton minigame teleport and running south. However, if you're instead using a Barrows teleport or running from the Myreque hideout where you started the quest, then I'll pop up timestamps for where I covered these routes now. After arriving at the gate, go through it, and then run east for a little while and head back into the general store. Now talk to Oral and go through the chat where he asks you to fix up the bank. Next run southwest to the Burgh de Rott bank and locate Cornelius inside. Chat to him and ask, what should I do now? And when more dialogue options appear, click off from the chat. Following this, use one of your regular planks on the broken bank booth to repair it, and once it's repaired, head outside and to the western wall of the bank. Here you'll find a damaged wall. Use one of your planks on it to repair it, and then head back into the bank and talk to Cornelius once again before asking, what should I do now? And then continue the chat to recruit him as the banker. And now let's bank and get ready for the next part of the quest. Firstly, deposit any extra nails that you have on you, as well as your spade. Then withdraw a tinderbox, 2 steel bars and 1 coal. You'll also want to withdraw your combat or super combat potion and your prayer potion if you have them, and some extra food to help with the upcoming fights. Additionally, just double check that you have your weapon, armor, and a Ferrita's aid equipped. A reminder that if you're not using a silver weapon or wolfbane dagger, then a regular weapon will only work if a Ferrita's aid is also worn. Once you're ready, exit the bank and run north to Razvan just north of the pub before talking to him and asking, what should I do now? And then when more chat options appear, just exit the chat. Now run southeast to the furnace at the southeastern corner of the city. After arriving at it, firstly use one of your steel bars on the furnace. Following this, use your coal on the furnace, and finally use your tinderbox on it to light it and start a cutscene. Here Van Strom-Klaus orders Gadderanks to go and collect blood tithes from the people of Burgh de Rott. When the cutscene ends, run north into the general store whereby you'll find Gadderanks and some other fresh faces. Firstly, talk to Gadderanks and go through the chat with him. Afterwards, talk to either of the Vampyre Juvinates and go through the chat with them. And finally, ensure that you're ready for a fight and then talk to Whisket and go through the chat with him. This will then spark a mini-fight where you need to kill both Gadderanks and the 2 Vampyre Juvinates. Pop on your combat boosting prayers and drink your combat potion if you brought one. Then start with killing Gadderanks, and then move on to the 2 vampires. And thankfully mid-fight, Veliath will arrive to help you out. Gadderanks can be damaged with any weapon, however the Vampyre Juvinates can only be fought with a silver weapon or the Wolfbane dagger. That is unless you're wearing their Ferrita's aid, which allows you to damage them with any weapon, albeit with only 50% of the regular damage. Defeat both Gadderanks and the vampires, and once the fight ends you'll learn that Gadderanks is still alive. Now talk to Gadderanks and continue through the chat, where after you promise to save his family, he offers up some helpful info before passing away. Continue through some dialogue to then obtain his Gadderhammer. Following this, talk to Veliath and go through the chat, which sees him return back to the Hollows. Next, use your South Graveyard teleport and then run east a decent ways into Canifus and further east into the Canifus Bank. Now bank and you can deposit your Gadderhammer, your tinderbox, and your regular hammer. And you'll then want to withdraw your steel medhelm, steel chain body, steel plate legs, silver sickle, as well as 15 salmon. Then fill the rest of your inventory with food for yourself. I'd also suggest keeping your combat and prayer potions on you as well as your teleports, and you'll want to ensure that you still have your weapon and armor with you, as well as your Ferrita's aid ring. It's a good idea to check how many charges you have left on your ring and swap to a fresh one if it's getting low. Finally, ensure that you do not have a pet or follower out for this next step. Once you're all prepared, exit the bank and run southwest to the trapdoor behind the pub. After arriving, select to open the trapdoor here to climb down it, and then go a tad south before searching the wall to go through, before going a little southeast and going through the cave entrance that's around the middle of the tunnel to arrive at the Myreque hideout. Once you're inside, firstly talk to Veliath and go through the chat, where he asks you to escort Ivan to Paterdomus and find a better way to damage vampires. Continue through the chat, and when more dialogue options appear, just click off from it. Now talk to Polmarfi to your east, who's dressed in green, and go through the chat with him. Next, locate Ivan a little to your north. Firstly, use your steel med helm on him, then use your steel chain body on him, and afterwards use your steel plate legs on him. Following this, use your silver sickle on him. Finally, use one of your cooked salmon on him before selecting, yes, I'll offer all of this food item in my inventory to Ivan to give him 15 salmon. Note that if you're very low leveled, say under level 50, and you also don't have 43 prayer, then you might want to duck back to Canifus Bank to grab some extra food, but otherwise you should be okay. Once you've supplied Ivan with everything, then talk to him and go through the chat. And now you'll need to select one of two routes to get to Paterdomus. Route 1 requires you to defeat 2 level 75 Vampyre Juvinates, while Route 2 requires you to defeat 3 out of 4 level 50 Vampyre Juvinates. Personally, I think that Route 2 is easier, but of course the choice is yours. Select whichever route you prefer, and then select travel at the top left of the interface. And you'll now start a mini temple trekking instance whereby you and Ivan need to face off against the vampires. While they will attack you, they'll mostly attack Ivan, and you'll need to kill the vampires before they kill Ivan. Thankfully, as you provided him with armor and food, this shouldn't be too difficult, but do your best to prioritize killing any vampires that are damaging Ivan. Simply defeat the vampires, and after all or most of them are defeated, depending on the path you decided on, you'll then arrive at Paterdomus. Go through the chat with Ivan to see him head on inside. Now run west and open the trapdoor before climbing down it to enter into the temple, and then run a little north to Drezel, who you'll want to talk to. When chat options appear, firstly say, Veliath told me about Ivandis. After some more chatter, ask, so you're sure that Ivandis is buried here then? Following this, ask, what proof do you have that Ivandis is buried here? After this, then ask, what do you know about the history of this temple? And follow this up with, is there somewhere that I might get more information on Ivandis? And then finally say, the lives of those pitiful few left in Mauritania could rest on this. And then continue through the dialogue to be handed a temple library key. After obtaining the key, use it on the keyhole along the eastern wall of the room you're in to reveal a trapdoor, and then climb down the trapdoor into a library. Head west in the room, and the most western bookcase in the center of the room away from the walls will have a search option. Search this bookcase to obtain a book called The Sleeping Seven, which you'll then want to select to read before closing. Next, use your south graveyard teleport, and then run east a decent ways into Canifus, and further east into the Canifus Bank. Here you won't want to deposit anything, and simply bank and withdraw a rope, a hammer, 1 soft clay, 1 mithril bar, 1 silver bar, 1 sapphire, as well as 1 cosmic rune and 1 water rune. Ensure that you still have your charged Amulet of Glory, as well as your Mort'ton or Barrows teleports, and additionally your South Graveyard teleports. Once you've gathered the required supplies, exit out of the bank and then run southwest back to the trapdoor behind the pub before opening it and climbing down, and then go south in the room and search the wall to go through it. From here, just to your southeast will be a cave entrance blocked by some wooden boards. Use your hammer on the wooden boards to break them up, and afterwards enter the cave. From here, run south, and then east into a large open space whereby you'll find a coffin. And you'll want to use your soft clay on the coffin to create a rod mold. Once you have the mold, use your Amulet of Glory to teleport to Edgeville before running a short ways east to the furnace. Use your rod mold on the furnace to open an interface, and then select to create the Silver Thrill rod. Once you've made it, you'll then want to cast a level 1 enchantment spell on your Silver Thrill Rod to enchant it. Next, use your South Graveyard teleport before running north a short ways and then crossing the bridge west to arrive back at the temple. Now open and climb down the trapdoor, and afterwards run north and then west and go through the gate, before travelling southwest to the water source, being the well. Here you'll want to use your Silver Thrill Rod on the well while having a rope in your inventory, and after a short moment your rod will turn into the Rod of Ivandis. Rod of Ivandis obtained, it's now time to head back to Burgh de Rott, ideally by either using your Mort'ton teleport scroll or your Shades of Mort'ton minigame teleport and running south. However, if you're instead using a Barrows teleport or running from the Myreque hideout where you started the quest, then I'll pop up timestamps for where I covered these routes now. After arriving at the gate, go through it, and then run east for a little while and head southeast into the pub. Once you're inside, climb over the broken wall and then climb down the trapdoor to find that everyone has now moved in. Now locate and talk to Velief, whereby you'll hand him the Rod of Ivandis before BAM! Quest complete. You'll be awarded access to Burgh de Rott, access to the temple trekking minigame, the ability to wield a Gadderhammer, and the ability to make the Rod of Ivandis. You'll also gain 2000 attack, strength, defense, and crafting XP, as well as 2 quest points. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next quest.